Now, of the 13 children in my family, 11 of us went to St. Paul's High School in Highland, which unfortunately closed in the 80s. In my senior year, apparently it was the inaugural student talent show. A friend of mine put together a band of 5 seniors. He was bass guitar and vocals. He had another guitar player, a drummer, a baritone sax, yes, a baritone sax, and then me on trombone and vocals. Now, I thought we did pretty well for just only 1 to 2 weeks practice, but we came in second place. My brother Ed, he won doing a rendition of the song, I Gotta Be Me. Some of us oldsters might remember that one, but they may not know that it originated in a short-lived 1968 Broadway musical. Was originally performed by Steve Lawrence, but it was Sammy Davis Jr. who turned it into a pop hit in the late 60s. Now, it's interesting how this song popped into my head as I began to meditate on this gospel. The song is one of aspirations to be successful and to do whatever it takes to get there. But if anybody remembers the song, the opening line is, whether I'm right or whether I'm wrong. And I saw that line operational in this parable from Jesus. Both the priest and the Levite were confronted with choices. There's genius in this parable as well, because there's things that Jesus leaves out that's left for those who are listeners to imagine. It doesn't say whether the two were going to or from Jerusalem. Perhaps they were en route to Jerusalem for temple duty, which is a very pious and respectable thing. Or they could have been returning home, anxious to be with wife and family after an unspecified amount of absence. They come upon the guy, and boy, it was just too bad that this poor man. Each was in a hurry and didn't have time. And also by touching him, they would render themselves ritually unclean. Someone else would have to help him. This road's pretty widely traveled. Well, then came the Samaritan, and most Jews regarded them as Jew-Gentile mongrels, to be avoided at the least, and perhaps even exterminated at the best. Knowing full well that this one lying there was a blood enemy, the Samaritan could have passed by also and said, well, he probably deserved it. But he did not. In this case, compassion for the suffering human won out over partisan theology, ethnicity, and demands of schedule. If it had been his father, perhaps, he'd hoped that a passing Jew would have stepped up and taken care of him. So he went out of his way, blew whatever schedule he may have had, and perhaps even spent more money on him than he had to spend. Jesus shared this parable to make a point. The Samaritan, by his actions, illustrated what was revealed in the first reading of Deuteronomy. The law of God is something very near to you. Did you hear that? Already in your mouths and in your hearts. You only have to carry it out. In every age, unfortunately, good religious people who you'd figure would be the most likely to help out are often the ones who use piety and family obligations to excuse themselves from the responsibilities of charity. Someone else will have to do it. I'm overcommitted. We gave at the office. I'd like to help, but my budget is already maxed out. On the other hand, it is those that you might least expect who will actually go through the trouble and lend a helping hand. The will of the Father is not about just abstaining from doing bad things, the so-called sins of commission, but that we fulfill our obligations to do justice and works of mercy. It's often entirely easy to turn away from God through forgetfulness and thoughtless, self-serving sin. Theologian Dr. Marcellino D'Ambrosio states, love is often inconvenient. It means giving not just out of our abundance, but at times out of our substance. True charity can really hurt. And that's what the cross is about. That is, the divine Samaritan Jesus saw the entire human race bloodied on a desolate road to nowhere. He got involved, but it cost him a lot more than 2 coins and a few hours' time. He rescued us and nursed us back to spiritual health. What he asks of us who wish to be known as Christians, little Christs, is to love with his love and so be true to his name.